Hello, everyone. You are watching us live on Africa or Beyond Africa podcast, the Cameroon News Agency, Mimi for Info. We are bringing to you updates on the presidential election that took place on the 12th of October 2025. We continue to give updates on what is happening on the ground. Cameroonians are reacting across the different regions of the country, and we also see opposition party leaders reacting. We see many politicians coming out to say a word or two. We also see also a lot of expectations, Cameroonians hoping that Issa Shurba Bakari will be making a statement. And we also see a lot of panic within the camp of the ruling CPDM. But what exactly is the latest? What are we supposed to know with regards to the 12th of October, that was yesterday, with the results, the frauds that took place, who is winning where, and what is at stake, and what are the different opposition party leaders saying? So we'll go to Jojika Kenwe, first of all, with the latest. Before we start with Jojika, I want to say good evening to all the gentlemen here with me. Hello, Bernard. Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mimi. Thank you for pulling this together. And it's a pleasure to participate in this very important exercise that keeps everyone informed of what is happening. Transparency is very important. And if we do not give out the information as it comes up, it risks being diluted by inaccuracies. So thank you, and happy to be here.
And just to tell our viewers that Bernard and Kalim would be looking at some of the accuracies and inaccuracies that we've been seeing across different social media platforms and even local media across Cameroon. Hello, Mfo Hansen Chandi. Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you, Mimi Mefo. Good evening. It's always a pleasure being together, and we'll be looking at so many things tonight.
So many things, including some of the frauds, the things that didn't go well in some of the polling stations. Thank you for joining us. And Jojika Kemwe, hello, how are you? We can barely hear you.
I don't know whether my volume has an issue.
It's not good. The sound is not good. It's not very clear. If you have maybe like a mic, maybe take it off.
No, I think it should be an issue of internet, if that be the case, but I don't know whether you can hear me now.
It's not really sounding good. I'm not sure if people will be able to understand what you are saying.
Okay, I will just try to come in again and see whether
yes,
the sound will
yes,
be,
that's better. Okay.
Okay.
While we are waiting for Jojika to come back, we will start with you, Bernard. Tell us what exactly is happening. We are seeing a lot happening on the social media space and even on local media, newspapers, radio, TV stations. Can you tell us what you have been seeing and what you think? You're also muted.
Thank you for that. Yeah, elections are a game of numbers, and when the numbers get truncated or get dissipated, the outcome may not necessarily or will not necessarily reflect the results of the ballot box. And what we have seen since yesterday is reporters and citizen journalists, voters collating the results and sharing them with us. Diesel, for example, is one of those platforms that are collecting the data as they come out. Citizens are getting the images of the blackboards as the results are being compiled together with videos. And once that information is handed over to the technical team is sorting it out. And that is a basis of which we are talking about, or we are providing results of these elections. It's not some fiction of imagination, or it's not some social media propaganda, as some have called it. It is true that according to the Electoral Code, the Constitutional Council is the only organ with the authority to declare the winner of the elections. But that does not say that the results from the polling stations are not valid. the raw data is the most accurate information we can have, and that is why we continue asking all those with the raw data to continue sending it with through the numbers that we have and all the other platforms that we have. These are, for example, as a number has a platform that is running on the scroll bar on this screen now. You can all send that information there. The technical team is processing the information, and you would have the information as we process the information. There is also another team that is providing information data, of which I reported on this morning on the Beyond Africa podcast. They have cleaned up the data to the extent that Chiruma already had about 1,600,000 votes, and Paul Biya was coming up with about 500,000 votes as the second challenger, meaning the gap is already beyond 50% of the votes cast, and most of these votes are from the littoral and the central regions. And according to Elecam's own data, the center region and the littoral region had the highest number of registered voters, meaning that most of those registered voters are within the urban area, the metropolitan cities of Douala and Yaoundé, and the very close neighborhoods where it's easy to collect the data and transmit. And according to that platform, they have received about 76% of the results from the central region and from the littoral region. Then when you look at the next region, which is the far north region, the data from there is still being collated, and it's not yet very clear on who is leading out there. But just from the statistics, the far north region was going to be the battleground between Chiruma and Belobuba Megari. And as at now, or the far north region, the northern region, and the Adamawa were going to be the battlegrounds for Belobuba and Issa Chiruma Megari. Belobuba Megari and Issa Chiruma. And we have already seen Belobuba's key partners. We'll talk about the details in a moment. That is Akere Muna and Caxton come out and recognize Issa Bakari as the winner. So there is little room left to doubt on the possible outcome of the results, because from the objective statistics and data that we have, Issa Chiruma Bakari is definitely in the lead, and that lead does not seem to be narrowing down as results are coming in. I know Hansen is going to talk about the fraud that is being observed, where others are being forced to overturn results and sign a return sheets that do not represent the results from the ballot box. But that is a question that we are going to answer in a moment. If not, the statistics that we have, that we are seeing, are encouraging, and we are also seeing that the CPDM and the allies are kicking hard against the results that are being published on social media. There are many arguments. The first argument is that these results are not credible. The second argument is that only the Constitutional Council can declare actual results after Elecam processes them. But still, we are talking about raw data that we have from the ground. Whatever the processing is, we shall be able to compare what we have as raw data and what is being provided to us by the official channels. I think we'll discuss the details of this in the course of the program. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Bernard, for that, and Hansen for. There's also a lot. We've seen videos showing how some Elecam officials were trying to manipulate, or authorities were using their power to kind of manipulate Elecam officials. A lot of things happened in different parts of Cameroon yesterday.
Yes, Mimimefo, the Elecam officials, the CPDM, the administration, they are trying to doctor some of the results, especially in far-off places where mobile phones cannot capture them. Yesterday we had about 3 videos that came from Lebialem in the southwest region, where in Wabane, for instance, 2 instances where the youth president was seen telling voters who to vote, telling them put white inside, and it was caught on camera. In another places in Maga, in Wabane, where we saw a video where Elecam officials and polling agent and CPDM members were thumb printing the ballot papers, rather the result sheet.
So Hansen is being interrupted, but also we have the latest on Cameroon. That's why the car is here to tell us what do we need to know as far as the presidential elections is concerned? I mean, from yesterday till this evening.
Hello, Mimi. I don't know whether you can hear me very well now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So far, since yesterday, following the closure of polls, the counting started already, and it was ongoing now because the countings started from the polling units, and now it's been progressed to the divisional level, and then from divisional level, we are expecting that those results again will be taken, to the regional level, where they will now be processed and then transmitted to the Elecam head office in Yaoundé, where they are going to arrange them before presenting to the Constitutional Council for declaration. And that's supposed to happen within 15 days. So far, we know that as it stands now, voting is counting is still ongoing, from the different stages, depending on how they looking at the structure of the various divisions, regions, and even subdivisions. So as of now, we know that counting is ongoing at the level of the divisions and probably at the level of the regions.
Yes, so in terms of, we also have opposition party leaders speaking up. Some of them have been issuing statements and reacting after yesterday's vote. What really stands out for you, and what are they really saying?
Yes, we have been able to see some of the candidates whose names are featured in this presidential race issued statement congratulating the person they claim is the winner. Especially, we have seen a statement from Ateki Seta Caxton. He was the presidential candidate of the Liberal Alliance Party. He is abbreviated in the French acronym as PAL. So he released a statement early this morning and congratulating Issa Chiroma Bakare. According to Ateki Seta Caxton, he explained that though he had stepped out of the race and back the presidential candidates of the National Union for Democracy and Progress, that is Bello Buba Maigari, but after looking at the trends and what is happening, he has decided to extend his congratulations to Issa Chiroma Bakare, whom he believe is the winner of this election. And after the statement which he issued, just some few hours after that, we also see a statement coming out from the party, and the party said that that is PAL, the statement signed by Celestine Bizigi, His Royal Majesty Celestine Bizigi, who is the president of the Liberal Alliance Party. He said that Ateki Seta Caxton acted individually and is not the position of PAL as far as this presidential election is concerned, because he mentioned that is some kind of he's trying to position himself in order to benefit probably from the incoming administration, though it's not yet been confirmed as to who the winner of this election is. And aside from Ateki Seta Caxton, we have also received a statement from Akere Mona, who ran on behalf of Universe Party, though he, just like Ateki Seta Caxton, Akere Mona also stepped out of the race just a day after campaigns were launched, and then rallied his support behind Bello Buba Maigari. And the statement which Akere gave this evening, he was urging that the incumbent, who is President Paul Biya, should actually do something that the nation will remember him for, to acknowledge the decision that the people have taken. And so apart from these two who have also released statement, we have seen a statement from Sage Espoir Matombe, Matomba, who ran on behalf of Paul's party. We have also seen a statement from Dr. Yaks Buha Agbe, who was also the presidential candidate of Mouvement Citoyen Cameroonians. So, and we have also seen a statement from Hiram Samuel Iyodi, and it was somehow complicated with the candidacy of Hiram Samuel Iyodi. He ran on behalf of a party called FDC, that is Front Democrats Cameroonian, and just this morning, the president of the party, Dennis Atangana, released a statement declaring that the incumbent Paul Biya is the winner of the election, and that statement seemed not to have gone well with Hiram Samuel Iyodi and the team. So they released another statement denying or the statement from the president of the party, saying that they will not, that they refuse, yeah, that's the word they were saying, that they refuse to acknowledge any victory of the incumbent. So far, those are some of the statements that we have seen from these political parties. We also know that Cabral came out and debunking a letter which was written claiming to be on behalf of the PCRN party, stating that he has accepted the third position in this presidential race.
Wow, just a lot, Bernard, a lot happening in Cameroon in just, I think, less than 24 hours. Let's start with how the votes are being collected and carried from one place to another. Is it not worrying? I mean, you were talking earlier about authenticity, about verification of the votes, given that it has to go through so many channels before getting to Yaoundé. That sounds a bit concerning.
Yeah, from what we have seen since last night. Okay, let me explain the procedure. From the polling units, the results that most people are seeing now, those are results that came out exactly from the raw data, like Benjamin Ali was saying, that came out from the polling units. Those ones that you see tallied on blackboards. That's because most of the polling units were allocated in schools across the nation, and that's why you could see that some of the results were actually from the classrooms. They used the blackboards in the classroom, and those results, when they were tallied on the board. After that, they were still again inserted, filled on the results sheet, which was being signed by the representative of the political parties that were represented in the polling unit. And from there, they were being taken now to the subdivisional level, and information we got is that they are being kept, the ballots are being kept at the level of the divisional office, and the results so far, the LECAM officials also, they are taking these results from the subdivisional level to the divisional level, and then right up to the regional level, where everything will be combined to be able to determine how each party perform in each region, and from there they will take those results again. Because there's one thing that we should also note, that in every stage of the process, there are supposed to be the representative of the various political parties to be able to authenticate that what our agents sent to us from these polling units and they are taken to the subdivisional level. This is exactly what our agents sent to us, and leaving from there also, each party that is represented in this election is supposed to appoint someone who will be present during the counting at the level of the division and also at the level of the region, to be able to ensure that what came out from the polling right up to the subdivision, to the division, and right to the region is actually a reflection of what the polling agents submitted to the hierarchies.
Interesting. Bernard, you want to react?
Yeah, Yeah, thank you. I just want to add to the impressive report that Jessica has given in his presentation on the channels that the results take from the polling station right up to the Constitutional Council, which is a very daunting one, and one which lacks verification at some point. And this point, the point that is critical is when the results leave from the polling station to the Elecam local office. That is where things can happen without control. Because on the election day, immediately the votes are counted and the parties sign and take their own reports, their own copies of the tally sheets and leave. The Elecam representative takes the copy that the law refers to as the only authentic copy to the to the Elecam office. And let's note that that report has a signature page only at the end. So once the results are tallied and taken over to the Elecam office, anything can happen there. And we even saw images of people in the polling station manipulating and affixing fingerprints on the tally sheets, meaning the journey between the Elecam office or the polling station and the Elecam office and that night is a troublesome one. And when it's true that at the divisional counting commission, all parties or all candidates have their representatives in there. But when you consider the situation of Cameroon, where the administration is tough, the administration is hard, sometimes it's difficult to understand that if something had been manipulated overnight, that the candidate's representative can actually stand his ground. When you hear the Minister of Territorial Administration using very harsh words on the candidates at the national level, you can imagine the kind of pressure that these candidates can receive, or the candidate representatives can receive at the local levels, where there is a police, there is a gendarme, all within that setup. So it's difficult to understand how easy it is to have credible results from this polling unit right up to the national level. Then when those results travel from the divisional level to the national level, there is absolutely no control. I was talking to a former Elecam officer who told me that they carry these results, the physical copy of these results, they load them into a car and drive it from wherever they are to Yaoundé. I think that is one of the reasons that explains why there is a 15-day period between the results and the declaration of between the elections and the declaration of the results. This also makes it very complicated because as they carry the papers along, they could be manipulated at any level. And it's really difficult. If you remember very well, in 2018, Maurice Kamto's party came out and said, okay, these results do not reflect what we had on the field. And that is why the signatures are not present on the results sheets. But the argument was, you don't have any evidence to back this up. So this time, through the leadership of Le Bâtisseur de la Nation and other organizations and the results that are being provided, the images of the results as they are recorded on the board and filmed and snapped are being taken and sent to this platform so that they can have something to say, this is what we saw. Even if these results are not going, even if the images that are being posted and shared from the polling station are going to be questioned in the court of law as to their authenticity regarding questions of evidence, which is a technical legal question, they would serve as evidence, as reliable evidence in the court of public opinion, and the court of public opinion has its final say. We're discussing today and someone was saying that the Constitutional Council has the final say, but the Constitutional Council actually has the final say on the legal grounds. The Constitutional Council actually has put itself in a situation where if the results from the field do not tally with what they would declare, it would actually lead to citizens questioning it. And the Constitution of Cameroon gives sovereignty to the people of the country. So the Constitutional Council does not have the absolute final say in legal terms, because the people can actually withdraw the sovereignty that they gave to the Constitutional Council at some point. So I think it's an opportunity for us here to remind the Constitutional Council and all Elecam officials and state officials of other state institutions to remember that sovereignty belongs to the people and the people can withdraw it at any time.
Yes, that's a very important point there because, like you said, anything can happen between now and the next 2 weeks. it can be manipulated, looking at the process, transporting via the car, some of the votes being manipulated. We could even see some videos in cities like Douala, in some part of Douala 4, in some parts of Motengene, in some parts of Bamenda, and the southwest regions where there is conflict. I mean, some of the hotspots in the Anglophone regions, where Elecam officials were some sort of manipulating the votes. But Hansen was talking about some of these cases is back. And Hansen, would you want to carry on with what we need to know when it comes to some of the lapses that we've started seeing since the vote counting process started?
Yes, thank you very much. And I'll be joined by Mr. Ntimancho Michael, who will be analyzing why these irregularities in some of the suburbs. Just to know that I'm disappointed in Elections Cameroon. We were supposed to see a communique by Elections Cameroon today saying that they have received they've seen complaints of their workers who were in complicity with some CPDM members and administrators and members of forces of law and order trying to manipulate the vote. Elekan was supposed to come out today and send out a communique to reassure the electorates that they will look into the matter. It is 24 hours after Elekam has not done anything. I want you to watch this video of the chief of Modeka, Chief Dipoko, who is also the deputy mayor of Tiko Council. He talking with a member of the of Elekam and telling her that he has been disappointed. He's disappointed with his people. He gave them money, but they voted for Issa Chiroma Bakari, and that if there's any way, anything she can do, she should do something because he has already settled Miselele. You know, Miselele is between the Mungo or Wuri and the South region. Let's take a listen.
But we want to be part of that victory. One of these Mungo, you know, whether it's me or the we want that in the accounting, the Mungo also is to be good. Please, we need your assistance so that we have that process. For me, on the other side, whatever is happening to that because that will present our percentage. And that's why I say I'm handling this because I have spent my money on them and they come and destroy me at the end of the day. Nothing is hidden. We have our eyes. We know how we monitor. They have betrayed me. They know that their consciences are judging them, and I will not take it lightly with them because I've treated them as my brothers. They come to me anytime, I receive them, I help them. So for them to do this, yes, please. That's what I'm
This is interesting. Yeah, muted.
This is just a tip of the iceberg, Mimimefo. So and I hear that he arrested the person that filmed this scene. This is a deputy mayor who is also a member of the Full Gospel Mission. These are people who go to church and they sit in front of the church, they clap their hands and they call them deacons and all that. But look at what he is doing, electoral malpractices, and the ruling party has been accused of carrying out this kind of malpractices in Wabane and in other areas. That is why people are doubting that how come 5,000 people voted in Batibo when most places were deserted in Agiati, where the observers were taken out of the polling unit by the military. I will be joined by Dimancho Michael. Dimancho Michael, you've been watching some of these irregularities, and till now, Elekam has not said anything. What can you say about what's happening, and how can Cameroonians defend their votes? You're muted.
You have to unmute yourself.
Can you unmute yourself, Njimancho? The button where you see the mic, you just touch it and you'll be on mute. We can't really get to Njimancho. Maybe when he's unmuted, he can join us in the backstage. I can see he's struggling to do that. But maybe for the political parties, the opposition political parties need to take their responsibility. They need to make sure that all the thumbprint, the fingerprints should be checked. The fingerprint should be checked. I don't know if there's a way to scan those fingerprints. If you scan and one fingerprint comes 10 times, 15 times, there is a problem there. They should start checking the fingerprint. They should start checking the signatures, because one person cannot sign 30 signatures alone. There must be some semblance of the signatures. We saw that in Wabane, where one person, they were doing as if they were sharing granules. This is a huge electoral malpractice, and we saw forces of law and order who were seated there in Wabane and watching how they were carrying out these malpractices. This is electoral hold-up. This is stealing the people's vote, stealing the conscience, the vote of the people. And the FSNC had won in that locality, according to what I got from a correspondent there, but then they tried to overturn it by doing that. And we've seen this in many places where people are doubting that in this rural area where most people remain at home, how come thousands of people have voted? And there is no doubt, or there is no gainsaying, noting that the CPDM and Elecam and some administrators are working against the will of the people. If this is not something we are talking to be afraid of the National Communication Council, no, it's not something we are just throwing out there. We have the videos.
But the National Communication Council that you've just mentioned has issued a statement warning the media houses and journalists that are releasing the results. I think we have some issues there. I don't know if it's from, maybe you mute yourself. Yes, that's better. So I don't know if you've seen this communique from the National Communication Council warning media houses and journalists and telling them to abstain from publishing the results of the presidential elections before it's officially proclaimed by Elections Cameroon and the Constitutional Council. Do you think that the National Communication Council, the NCC, should be doing this now?
Well, the National Communication Council is in its right. They are in their right to say, don't post it, don't post that. I find them as hypocrites, because they come at a time when they need to pinpoint, they need to say, you posted this, don't do that, you posted this. It's not time to come with a generalized message, because we've seen fake results that were being posted by people on the other side, people who were trying to paint the fact that President Pobia was winning everywhere. We saw some of their agents on the social media who posted one polling unit, different locations in one polling unit, which means that they took one picture and they said this is Biamasi, another person will say this is Mokolo, and the same picture, and they are giving different locations. So this is an example of theft. It's an example of theft, an example of social media manipulation. So I expected the National Communication Council to pinpoint these people, because we know these people, some of them work for Vision Cat, and we know how the National Communication Council found it very difficult to sanction people from Vision Cat, and even Vision Cat itself, where they will sanction you, and in the next day you will still see them on TV still talking. So the National Communication Council had difficulties in implementing these sanctions. So we don't need a generalized statement from the National Communication Council. We need them to say, you, this personality, you posted this and that is wrong. We are verified, because I believe that the National Communication Council has the machines, they have the machinery, they have people working there who can easily detect fake stories. I've had some friends there and they tell me how they do it. So they should know that this platform posted this, and which is a lie. I can tell you that yesterday.
So Bernard, yes, so Bernard, this gives the impression that the National Communication Council is only stepping in when it suits them. And looking at the fact, just like Hansen is saying, that the National Communication Council is finding it difficult to say exactly who should not do what, when, and where. It's already a very big problem, in the sense that we have people that are already posting manipulated results on social media. Shouldn't that be the priority of the National Communication Council, clearly stating who is doing what and who shouldn't be doing the publications?
I have generally had difficulties understanding what the National Communication Council is out for, what they seek to achieve, because the only thing I hear about the National Communications Council is when they go out there to sanction journalists and media houses, which makes it very difficult to understand their fundamental role. As you say, the National Communications Council should be there to ensure that the information or the communications landscape is fair, is balanced, and what is coming out of what is coming out of the news media is clear and transparent. And if they identify a problem, they should call it out. I find it difficult to understand why the National Communications Council would try to enforce a law that blankets the publication of trends from the polls. In the communique, they say the law's reference to polling station results is distinct from the final results of an election. No one has given the final result of an election. What people are putting out there is what they are seeing from the various polling stations and cities and towns in Cameroon. What the Communication Council should be doing here is verifying the information that they have seen. And if they see that information is unverified, they sanction the person who has published unverified information. This is where the problem is. The National Communications Council, and I think this is what the new president of Cameroon needs to look at. In a country where the National Communications Council joins the rest of the administration to stifle the press, there is never going to be transparency. Here, the National Communications Council's role is to ensure that the press can communicate freely. What they should have been calling for in their communique is, press, make sure that you verify the information you are publishing. And if press publishes information that is not verifiable, that is when you can sanction them. There are laws in the books for sanctioning publication of fake information, and that should be the question of the courts of law. So I don't know why the Communications Council, instead of doing what they're supposed to do, are coming into play defense here. Because we have seen people, initially they started with the opinion that nobody is supposed to publish anything from the press, and that came from anything from the polling stations, and that came from Atangan Jipo. When people started publishing the data as it is from their polling stations, he says now, the National Communications Council says, the NCC reminds media managers and social media users that the Constitutional Council is the sole legal authorized institution with the power to proclaim the final results of the presidential election. Nobody is proclaiming the results of the elections. People are just publishing what they are seeing, and like the video that Hansen has just published here. That is what they should actually look at, and even partner with their organization, with the partner organization Elecam, and tell them, we've seen this kind of information. How do we treat that on the media? So are they telling me that if another TV station, for example, plays that particular video that Hansen has shown from Tico, that is going to be a violation of the norms because it's talking about election results? They should publish results. They should let journalists and social media organs publish information as it is, so that people can have that information. Democracy and the truth die when there is lack of transparency. Once there is transparency, as we have, we publish that information so that people should actually see what is happening on the field and appreciate the information we are giving. If not, at the end of the day, after 2 weeks, when everybody is gone home and waiting for the official results, for the Constitutional Council to proclaim the results, nobody will be able to verify that information. So we need to keep on informing everyone of what we are seeing, and criticize what we need to criticize and praise what we need to praise. We should not wait for the last moment, because an hour in politics is very, very important.
It's very important, and I want to stick to the NCC. Bernard is saying, when I hear of the National Communication Council, it's always about sanctions. Dimancho Michael is here. Hello, sir. Welcome again. Hansen left. Hansen is back.
Yes, thank you, Mimi, for hello, Hansen. I hope you can get me now.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we can get
you. Can you get me now?
Yes. So the question, yes, the question, we're just asking your opinion. Yes, because we're talking about election fraud in some parts of the country and the silence of the elections governing body, ELECAM. So far, ELECAM has not issued any statement questioning or saying that the polling agents or the ELECAM officials that were involved in fraud will be investigated. What is your reaction?
Already, Mimi, you know that the ELECAM itself is a powerless body because we even had an issue yesterday. The first statement about the elections was made by the Minister of Territorial Administration, which is, first of all, already wrong. It was not the Minister of Territorial Administration to first make a statement on the state of the election in Cameroon. It was supposed to be ELECAM and the Director of ELECAM to make a statement about the state of elections. But we were really taken aback when we listened to rather the Minister of Territorial Administration say and telling the world how the election was free and fair and how there were no hitches. And we took hold with that and we said, it appears as if the ELECAM itself, they are on their knees and they have been given the goat and the rope is being held by the Minister of Territorial Administration. So you understand with that. You know that institutions in Cameroon have been politicized. That is the issue. And people are just like, they do not know their rules any longer. And they are very careful not to step into tools. And I think that ELECAM has woefully failed in this perspective because ELECAM was supposed to give the state of affairs of the issues. I know that later in the evening, the Director General of ELECAM spoke of what the Minister of Territorial Administration said. So we are picking holes with that, and we say that if that is how that is wrong, because we understand that he is powerless in this perspective, and there are a lot of things that are going wrong, and you now understand why we have the result that we have. Yes.
So Hanson, would you want to step in a little bit to maybe discuss also, because we also talked about the reactions from other opposition party leaders. Yes, can you hear us? Yes.
Yes. Can you get me?
Can somebody get me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes. Yes, so maybe I go to Hanson, and Hanson, Jojika was, a while ago, Jojika was describing what the different opposition party leaders have been saying, the reaction since the start of this, since this morning, we've seen Ateki Caxton reacting, and then there's the talk of war between Hiram and his the person who is and who fielded him as a presidential candidate, and also we have the PAL and the PAL president, yes, the PAL president and the presidential candidate, because they are two different people. So there's like this back and forth, people not on the same side, but there's one thing is for sure. The other on the other side, we have Ateki Caxton saying that Cameroonians have decided and declaring Issa Shoma Bakari as the winner. But the party chairman is saying that I do not recognize this outing by my presidential candidate. What does this really tell us?
Now, Mimi, this is very clear. Anglophones have a very clear conscience, and Anglophones don't look left and right when they want to talk. They speak their mind. You get me? Anglophones don't pretend. I'm sorry for using this term Anglophone, but you get from where I'm coming from. I'm talking because the two Anglophone candidates who joined Bello suddenly said, look, from the way we are seeing this thing, this man, from the vote we have seen so far, he is leading. They didn't, if you read within the line, they didn't just come out to say publicly that he has won. You know, there is a pattern. So if you see the way Ateki wrote it, and you see the way Akeremuna wrote it, you see that there's a pattern, but it's moving towards one direction. And this is the Anglo-Saxon nature. We speak the way we speak. We are open-minded. So that's why you see, I saw Cabral Libby's message He was going left and right, and they said nobody should. No, when you are an opposition, and then you send this kind of message to and how do you want the regime to look at
Yeah,
you?
but Hanson, I think that we should just say a Cameroonian or some Anglophones, because the person who was threatening an Elecam official in Tico was also an Anglophone.
Yeah,
So it's better we just say some. And in Wabane, those
okay,
Elecam
let me,
officials were also Anglophone. So
yeah, let me,
we've
no,
seen a lot of malpractices. Yes.
I'm talking about Anglophones in general. It doesn't mean that they are not bad eggs. You understand what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to
Yes.
be open-minded. I'm trying to let us know that if you see some of these candidates, they have their hidden agendas, and they are open wide out there. You see the FDC who came out without even informing his candidate that he was going to discuss. Some of these people are the ruling party in disguise. I'm beginning to even see why people are saying that Cabral Libi is a ruling party in disguise. I'm sorry to say this is the first time I'm saying it. It's not good for you supporting an opposition and being opposing to another opposition party leader. But the communique he came and said, nobody has won. People, all the social media noises, people should stop it. I saw it as a weakling. I saw it as a weak opposition. I saw it as somebody who is bound to the ruling party already, and that is why Paul Atanganji said the other day that he's not the one that said that Cameroon has the very weakest opposition in Africa or in the world. So they are laughing at the opposition. So they are laughing at the. So when they get somebody like Issa Chiruma Bakari who can stand his word, they bring all kinds of strategies, that all kind of sticks to put that on his road so that he will fall. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that you speak your mind. It shows that you are open-minded, and it shows that they are open for anything. Ateki and Akremuna, they are open for anything. They are not just, it's not a rubber stamp idea to say, I'm with Bello, I go with Bello. No, they've seen that they call it the winning cover beer. This person in cover beer, they win. And they've gone there, and there's a permanent interest.
Yes, even the youth, we've also seen the youth leader of the UNDP announcing officially that he is recognizing that Issa Shoma Bakari is winner of the election, and that
Yes.
Cameroonians should be given their votes. Cameroonians should be allowed to. Yes, which was
Exactly.
something.
And their outing shows that they don't care about what Paul Atanganji says. I mean, because all of us expected that before somebody will make such an outing, they'll be afraid, they'll be shivering that if I say this, oh, they might arrest me or something might happen. People don't care anymore about what he says, because if you know that your mother scolds at you all the time, if you know you touch a book, she will scold at you. You touch food, she will scold at you. You become used to it. It becomes not like even becomes like a lullaby. So he sees the time, he scolds at people all the time. People don't care anymore.
Bernard, I want to find out exactly, why we need the opposition to come together now more than ever before. But before that, Judika, you've been listening in, and I'm sure that you also spoke to some people around today. What's the atmosphere like? What are they saying the day after the election?
Yes, President yesterday and received several especially
The sound is not good. Maybe you have to come back again. Yes. Yes. Yes, it's not good at all. So yes, Bernard, we've seen just some opposition party leaders reacting, but will it not be worthwhile if we see reactions across the board? I mean, a unified kind of action from the different opposition leaders, because when we listened to their messages during the campaign period, it was about Cameroonians, we want to make the country better, we are fighting for you. Now is the time to stand up and defend what the Cameroonian people want.
You know, when Francois Soudan of Jeune Afrique wrote his article about l'opposition camerounaise est la plus nulle de l'Afrique, I think he did not make any mistake. I know Cameroonians argued against that, but maybe it was out of solidarity with the opposition leaders, but that was true. That was correct. Because At a time when everything is on the balance, everybody needs to put hands on deck. Everybody needs to go towards the same direction. Everybody needs to say stop. And that is where Cameroon is today. We missed this opportunity in 2018. We missed it as a result of the Anglophone crisis. And now we are in 2025 at a point where everything is pointing towards one direction. And that direction is Issa Chiroma Bakari is the winner of the elections. I don't think anybody in his right thinking senses is going to argue against that. Now, we need everybody to come up. Like I said yesterday on this platform, we need to come up. They need to come up and say, congratulations, Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari. We have seen the results. We have seen what the people have said. It's very easy to fall astray. But let's look at the example of the UNDP. Bello Buba Megari is not a media person, so I won't expect him to talk at any time. He doesn't talk so much. But his closest collaborators, Ateki and Akere Muna, have come out and they have said it loud and clear that Chiroma has won. Yesterday we had Fabrice Lena here. He was in the campaign team of Bello Buba Megari. He said he was just coming back from about 150 polling stations in Yaoundé, and Issa Chiroma won in those 150 polling stations in Yaoundé. What else do we want? Bello Buba is supposed to have been the contesting force against Issa Chiroma Bakari in the 3 northern regions. His own team have come out and said Issa Chiroma Bakari has won in those regions. The results from the center are clear. The results from the littoral are clear. What is Joshua Osi waiting for? What is Cabral B waiting for? What is Buga waiting for? Iyodi made a statement that he's not going to recognize the victory of the regime. But he's just come out clear and congratulate, because at this moment we need a united force to face the future of the country. The future of the country is at stake, because what we know is the CPDM is not going to leave like kids going out of school at the end of the day. The CPDM is going to fight to stay on, and we have seen that consistently. They are working hard and nail to discredit the results that are being distributed online for people to see. They're working seriously to discredit the results that analysts are working on these or on other platforms. They are telling everyone to rely only on the results that will be proclaimed by the Constitutional Council after they have been treated by ELECAM, because these are institutions that work for them. They have now brought in the National Communications Council to reinforce and silence media not to report on what they are seeing. So the opposition cannot go in dispersed ranks. At this material moment, the opposition needs to recognize that the CPDM is the CPDM, it is the government, it is the police, it is the military, it is the CNC, it is ELECAM, it is the Constitutional Council, and they all work together. So if you are really in the opposition, it is time to stand up, take up your phone, call Issa Chiroma Bakari, put the information out there. The opposition needs to come together at this material moment, because the future, people are excited about the results, but tomorrow is not going to be as bright as today's. So let everyone put hands together, put hands on deck, and make sure that Chiroma Bakari is safe, his results are guaranteed, and he becomes the next president of Cameroon. Because winning is one thing and getting into the presidency is another. We don't know what could be cooking around, but it's sure that the CPDM is not going to leave power like kids leaving school at the end of the day.
What is also certain is that we heard from the different political parties claiming that they had polling agents across the national territory. Let them come and tell us also what their results say. Mr. Dimacho,
before I go to Mr. Dimacho, let me just add this. I interviewed the campaign manager of the Social Democratic Front on the Beyond Africa podcast, and he told me that they have polling agents in all polling stations. But since we started seeing results, we are not really seeing results from the Social Democratic Front. We would like to see results from the Social Democratic Front, what they are seeing on the boards, and we would like to see the images and videos of results as they are being compiled on the boards. Then the CPDM has always claimed that they are the only party with national representation. And as it stands, instead of giving us raw data from the results as they're being declared immediately, the CPDM is spending its time criticizing the data that we are receiving. It's easier. It should have been easier for them to give us the data they have from all the polling stations, so we don't publish the fake information, isn't it? As they call it.
But they will normally claim that they have representatives because Elecam officials are in these polling stations. What do you expect?
So they should give us the information. That's what we are looking for. They should just give us the information at this point, right? They should give us the videos of the reports as they are being tallied on the different blackboards. Thank you.
Yes, Hanson, Mr. Ndimancho, Mike is here.
I have to unmute myself, Mr. Ndimancho. We're talking about the various opposition leaders who have so far said Issa Chiroma Bakare is a leader, is a winner. We've seen Ateki, we've seen Barrister Akremona, and also the youth president of the UNDP. And if you look at of their statements vis-a-vis those of Cabral Libi and those of Iodi, as well as the FDC's outing, do you see a clear demarcation between those whom have been accused of supporting the CPDM in hiding?
Of course, it is now that we are unveiling some of those, they say the Joseph of Arimathea of the Bible, who were the secret disciples of Jesus. We are now unveiling them, and a lot of them are coming out to actually prove us right, to say that we're secretly having some dealings with the government and with the incumbents and the CPDM. And now there's a lot of hesitation, and it's like a lot of people are waiting for someone to take the first step to do something. And Cameroonians are watching. Cameroonians are watching, and those people who are not pronouncing now, it is not because they do not want to pronounce, it is because they want to see other people pronounce first. Remember, yes, a lot of people have spoken. You have forgotten to mention even the Union for Change in Douala, which came out with a very, very powerful statement. They came with a very, very powerful statement, and with Anise Akane and Jekam Chamini. And of course, we have also gotten some information about why some opposition leaders are hesitating to make a statement, because we hear that there have been over the night dealings with the power in place with some of these opposition parties. You should know that a lot is going between yesterday and today for Hansen. A lot is going on, and we are getting quite some information about that. It's just I want to do some verification before we start denouncing. A lot is going on. Even when you get up to the polling agents and all of those things, a lot is going on among these people that we cannot just sit and say and condemn what we do not know, have first-hand information on. So we are gathering information, and we are going to denounce all of this. So you find that they are what we call the enemy dans la maison in the opposition. You remember before this presidential election, I engaged the opposition parties, and I must tell you, I met with almost all the frontline opposition parties, and we had discussions. And after my discussion with them, I wrote a very, very strong letter, in which I categorized the opposition leaders in Cameroon. The opposition in Cameroon was, just talking generally, about 375 political parties with whom I actually analyzed. And I put together the kind of opposition we have in Cameroon. First, the liberation theory opposition, which of course have failed us. And when I talk about liberation theory opposition, I'm talking about the party like the SDF, the 1992 SDF that we knew, of course, which had the mantra of Pobia must go, which remained at the level of the theology, and the theology has not gone any position. In Cameroon, we have that. And part of this opposition went for the presidential election. Among the 12 candidates, they were the opposition of opposition. You will have to know that. And this is those who are paid to actually destabilize the concerted view of the opposition. Like now, that we are at a very, very high point where the opposition is supposed to speak in one voice, this opposition is playing the role of dividing the opposition as a whole. So a lot is taking place. Now we have the opposition of proposition. You see, this type of opposition that actually wants the incumbent to stay in power. They just want the incumbent to share with them. They don't want the incumbent to go anywhere because they know what they are profiting from there. And now there is a fourth, which I described, which is the opposition of the belly politics. What Francois Bayard described in his book, L'État en Afrique, la politique du ventre. He talked about this kind of opposition who are only there for the belly politics. And this is what is going on now. And now, you know, the state, the power that be, they are in night meetings. Night meetings since yesterday. I mean, they are in night meetings with some of this opposition in order to have them give credibility to the incumbent. Because this is what it's all about. You remember that in 2018, we had what we call the G-Bank, if you remember very well. Those opposition parties that came together and they gave their unfringing support to the incumbent. They call them the G-Bank. So now there is something gesticulation. Something is happening again, and now very soon as the days are going back, you will hear most of these opposition parties coming out to say that the incumbent won. This is what is happening now. You are going to get that sooner or later in the coming days. So that is what is happening. And therefore, a lot of opposition, some of whom went for the presidential election, are there and they are waiting. They have been contacted. And some of them are being lured, being cajoled to close their mouth, not to make any statement. And you know, the population, I must tell you, the population is up and they are alive. They are spending, since yesterday, many are spending sleepless nights. And what the cause that we get today was, people are asking, what next? What next after yesterday? What next? Let me tell you, the spirits are high. And the enthusiasm with which people want to get the reports or the result of the election, it is actually very high. But you should also know that there's a kind of a storm in the teacup, even within the ranks of the ruling party, that people are actually in disparate, they are in disarray about what has happened. And there is accusation and counter accusation for those who didn't do well in their constituency. Because you should also understand that many constituencies, many regions and many divisions, they did very badly as far as the voting was concerned. And they had expected, amount of money that was spent, that was raised towards this election. That amount of money that was raised was going to be able to close the mouth of the electorate, to be able to bribe the electorate to vote the ruling party. Now the accusation is that they didn't use the money. That most of those people who lost the election didn't use the money. So there is a lot going on even within the ranks of the ruling party. And the coming days is going to reveal a lot of things. So I listen to you. There are a lot of blames also on the polling agents and all of that. But sometimes, or on the ELECAM and all of that. But sometimes we also have to put the blames on the opposition themselves. What we are having today. Part of the problem, and I must say the bigger part of the problem is caused by the opposition, who have not been able to take their job serious, who have not been able to take their politicking seriously. Because you find that there are a lot of polling agents who were not even taken care of. There are a lot of polling agents, of course, who are left within themselves. There are some polling agents who opted to be polling agent in some centers. When you opt, and you opt with a different agenda, with a malicious agenda, know that we are going to have what is happening now. Let me tell you, I have a lot of voices that they sent to me today about what happened, especially in the northwest and the southwest region. We'll be coming to that. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be coming to you. Meanwhile, time for us now to take on board Eric Chinje and Are Obensin. Gentlemen, you are welcome. Senior Eric Chinje, I begin with you. Do you have the impression that the regime is in a panic-stricken mode? There is a screenshot I shared about, let me just see if I can share it again, this screenshot, where Gregoire Ouna, the Minister of Labour and Social Security, said, it is very clear that Issa Chiruma has acknowledged that he is not the winner and that he doesn't have all the full results. He was reacting to this post saying that they are by Chiruma 2025, that said, nous demandons à tous de respecter les résultats issus des urnes dans chaque bureau de vote. Do you have the impression that the regime is in a panic-stricken mode right now, after yesterday's result and today? Please, you are muted. You are muted, Eric.
Yeah, thank you. You should have, when you bring Are and myself on on the platform, in the studio, please ask Array first. He's a smarter one.
I'm sorry.
I just copy what he says, and then go forward. But
Yeah.
look, when you see a government make such obvious mistakes, such obvious falsehoods, then you begin to wonder, are these the guys who govern us? Are these the fellows in charge of the destiny of a nation? They make such blatant errors in governance, such blatant half-truths or untruths. And you wonder, what is it that would take a minister of government like Gregoire or Warner, to engage in such pathetic and devoid of any truth, and they want us to believe that they're running a nation. I just, I feel, genuinely sorry for the nation I call mine, Cameroon, and I really hope that we should not let. Elections do take place. People move on. That's part of life, and there's no point in engaging in lies and these untruths just simply because we want to stay on in office. A time has come. We've had elections. Mr. Issa Chiroma is, without question, elected president of Cameroon. We just need for that to be officialized, to be confirmed and officialized. And Mr. Issa Chiroma moves on to the presidential palace in Yaoundé, what we call Etudi.
Okay, thank you very much. Are is with us right now. Do you think it's going to be an easy ride, given the fact that we've seen ministers coming out already to justify the unjustifiable? Is it going to be an easy ride to Etudi?
Is that question for me?
Yeah, is it going to be easy ride for Issa Chiroma, like what Eric Chinye said?
Absolutely. Well, let me just say, we wish this story could be written and told differently. We wish the journey or the path could be made smoother. There is no reason why it shouldn't. But unfortunately, it wouldn't. And the reason it wouldn't be is because of people who are entrenched in hanging onto power, who are going to actually not make it difficult for Issa Chiroma, but actually compromise the future of the country and the will of the people. This must not be looked as a fight against or an obstacle that is placed against the individual Issa Chiroma. It should be seen as an affront to the will of the people that was expressed in the way that it should be expressed in any civil society through an electoral process. It is really important to send this message to every civil servant and every government official or anyone who works and serves on behalf of the people of Cameroon, because that's what they are, that the mandate of President Paul Biya came to an end at midnight of October 11th. And on the day of the elections, October 12th, it was the government of the people, which means that the electorate had control of power in the country. And in that on election day, the electorate decides to will that power to somebody. And through the electoral process, they did. Today, on May 13, the government, the outgoing government, in recognition of the will of the people, must begin the transition process to the new government, even as they wait for the proclamation of the results of the Supreme Court. It is noteworthy contrary to everything that has been said by the Minister of Territorial Administration or by the National Commission
Communication
on
Council.
Communication Council, which did. It is very, very clear from the Electoral Code that election results are published at the polling station in which the voting took place. All the other, everything else is an administrative exercise, which must not subvert the will of the people. It's simple arithmetic that they do and tabulate the results. Otherwise, the people have spoken.
Okay. Is there any official statement from Project C so far?
Yes, we just put out a press release with reference to the elections, which should be circulating now, but which will be published in the papers tomorrow morning in Cameroon. But I'm happy to read it if you want,
please.
and I'll be happy to give it.
We are happy to have it firsthand from you.
Yes. So the caption of our press release is "Change has come to Cameroon. Project C calls for respect for the will of the people, respect for the people's will. Project C joins the people of Cameroon in marking a truly historic milestone. All evidence from polling stations in Cameroon and around the world suggests that the country is on the threshold of a new era, a third republic. Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari is projected to win the 2025 presidential race. Project C applauds the efforts by citizens to secure their vote and prevent post-electoral fraud. At this critical juncture, Project C calls upon the outgoing president, Paul Biya, and his administration to respect the will of the people and prepare a peaceful transition of power, even as the nation awaits the proclamation of results by the Constitutional Council. We further call on all candidates to honor this decisive moment, acknowledge the expressed will of the people, and congratulate the projected winner of the election, Mr. Issa Chiroma. This is a new page in our national history, turned by the collective will of the people. We urge all institutions, ELECAM, the Constitutional Council, the police, and the military to respect the will of the people of Cameroon and safeguard the integrity and peace of this transition. That's the statement we put out.
All right. Thank you very much. Maybe I'll be coming back to ask you something about that statement. But Eric Ichinje, Project C has spoken about post-electoral malpractices. So far, we've been talking about it. How dangerous can this be to this election?
Look, we hold elections so as to give ourselves, give the nation, give citizens an ability to refresh, to renew itself, to inject new ideas into the governance of the Commonwealth. That is really what elections are about.
Yeah.
And it should not be a war. It should not be a reason for strife and conflict between brothers of the same nation, sisters of the same nation. No, it shouldn't be. So what we are witnessing now, the post-electoral upheavals, that if not well managed, could thrust this country beyond the cliff into a state of crisis. The question we all ought to ask ourselves, especially those who want to inject fraudulent data into the management of the election, into the results of the election, they should ask themselves, is this really worth the trouble for a nation that we all love? Is it worth the trouble getting into provoking a civil crisis just because a handful of people, no more than what, 10,000, which is a high figure. No more than 10,000 in a population of 30 million. No more than 10,000 people want to keep their benefits. Is that worth threatening to plunge Cameroon into a crisis? And could be a bloody crisis. We went into what should have been resolved 10 years ago. We went into a minor crisis. Teachers and lawyers, protesting, demanding fair treatment. Could that have been so much to ask that we easily let the nation go into war for a civil war that has lasted close to a decade? Is it worth? Look, that's why I guess everybody should be rising up now and say, we will not go to war. We will not allow elections to provoke crisis in Cameroon. We will stay with the truth, because a nation built on falsehoods always, invariably, ends up badly. We are not going to build a new Cameroon based on fabricated lies by a team that wants to stay in power. It's not going to work. They'll just inject tensions, bad will, anger, and on that you cannot build a nation. I hope somehow Mr. Biya, the president, who ought to use this opportunity to leave office in grandeur, I hope Mr. Biya would call Issa Chiroma, because Issa Chiroma has won these elections. We can't blind ourselves to that. Mr. Biya will call Issa Chiroma, not only congratulate him, but invite him over to Etudi, introduce him to the place. Say, in the natural scheme of things, you will be here. This is the home you'll occupy for maybe the next 3, 4, 5 years. Mr. Biya should do that. And history will thank him for it. Cameroonians will be honored. Cameroonians across the world will be proud. And Africa would have learned a lesson. So I hope, your question was about the post-electoral environment. I just hope that it is one that will allow us to discover the higher purpose for which we are, that has us as Cameroonians, and be proud of it.
All right. Thank you very much. Bernard, I hope you listened to the statement by Ari Obenson on behalf of Project C. And if you did, in 2018, Maurice Kamto declared himself winner. In the hours or days ahead, should Issa Chiroma Bakari declare himself as the winner, do you think the scenario we had in 2018 will repeat itself? And could there be, we were talking yesterday of a plan B, like making a temporary presidential palace in Garwa, for instance?
I think from what Eric just said, I think we don't even need to think about a plan B, because we should be a nation of matured people who understand why they are where they are and what they need to do to move forward to advance themselves and the country. That said, comparing 2018 and 2025 is important, because there are two events of similar magnitude, but then the dynamics have changed. I don't think that I don't think that Maurice Kamto was as prepared in 2018 as he would have been in 2025, and as Chiroma has been in 2025. One clear example is Project C. The amount of work that Project C has done in the background to make these results accessible is incredible. We do not have that in 2018. The amount of work that DISO has done to get data to support the raw data to support the results is incredible. The amount of work that other platforms are doing was not seen in 2018. In 2018, we had mainly BAS and other organizations out there who were communicating about the elections, but we also had, we were at the peak of the Anglophone crisis. The war was at its peak, and there was divided attention between the war and the elections. But now everyone is focused on the elections, and I think we are at a point where Issa Chiruma has full attention on him, and he has something he can lean on, something he can rely on, and that is the Cameroonian people. And the results from the ballot box is what we have actually seen. We have it handy, and he can rely on that information. Even though Gregoire Ouna is saying that Chiruma claims he has not won the results, I think that is, he's saying that out of panic, as you asked a moment ago. He knows that this is game over. They saw the mobilization around Chiruma. They saw the mobilization around the elections, and they know that this is game over. Whatever they'll be trying to do would be to save face, because Real Madrid cannot lose a match even against Barca. When they lose against Barca, it's a problem. So losing against Cotonspor is not going to be taken lightly, because they're definitely looking for different means of claiming that the results are not fair. But however, we are at a point where Chiruma, as I said yesterday, is the cross bearer. He is bearing our cross for us, and we are supporting him. We are not leaving him alone like everybody else left Jesus. Only Simon of Cyrene helped Jesus. But here, the Cameroonian people are called Simon of Cyrene, and they are carrying that cross with Chiruma. We are on the same path with him, and we are ready to accompany him to get the results out there. So he should be confident, and even thinking about moving the palace to the north should not even be a question, because we are ready to accompany him, carry that cross to A2D, and he should actually rely on us, and a lot of work is being done to ensure that happens. And I think that is one of the reasons you see Eric with a heavy face, because I don't think this gentleman has slept all this for about a week. He's awake at AM Cameroon time, AM US time. So that is the work people are putting in, and we just need to take this to the finishing line. As Becky and John said yesterday, there is no need to celebrate. There is need to continue strategizing, working, and reminding Cameroonians that the impossible is possible, because we've been made to understand that it is impossible to have a new president. We've been made to understand it's impossible to have a new president, but we know that it is possible to have a new president, and we already have that new president. Therefore, it is our place to ensure that we call him Mr. President, and the state institutions confirm. Their job is just to confirm. It's not even to tell us whom the new president is. It's just to confirm what we have given to them. That is the job of the organs. Just confirm what we have given to you, and as soon as they do that, we should be able to call him Mr. President Issa Chiruma Bakare, as much as difficult as that is going to sound in the minds of those who were born after 1982. But finally, we are at the point where we say we have a third president in Cameroon.
All right. And Ari, maybe before you take the backstage, is this the end of Project C?
Actually, this is the beginning of a movement. It is the beginning of a movement of people who look beyond the labels that have been placed on us, and we see ourselves as Cameroonian, and we hope that this movement actually continues to grow. In the last few days, I think that the movement has more than tripled in size. We've grown from about 249 people, and now we're seeing ourselves reaching into the thousands of people. As I've been on this call, I see more and more people in the diaspora making contributions to this movement. So we are not going anywhere. In fact, if anything, the journey is just beginning. We have an entire country to rebuild, from its foundations to the skyscrapers that it should have along its streets. And for too long, we have essentially abdicated our responsibility. And I say no more. No more are we going to be on the sidelines of the development of our country. And I hope that the fellow Cameroonians that are watching now realize that it is our responsibility. I overemphasize this, that this is not about Issa Chiroma. This is about the Cameroonian people. And the Cameroonian people have spoken. And, you know, I had reminded people that the 8 million Cameroonians that were going to vote were doing so on behalf of the 30 million Cameroonians. And that was the responsibility of each voter. And they did it. And we cannot post the voice after the elections, be speculating on the destiny of the will of Cameroonians. It is clear that they made a choice, and it resounding clear. So yeah, Project C is only just beginning, and I hope that we can keep this momentum and continue to build a strong force in the diaspora all across the world. Countries that have flourished, whether you look at Germany, you look at Israel, you look at the Philippines, you look at countries that have flourished, its diaspora has played an incredible role in building it. Here are people in the diaspora who desperately want to see their country flourish, and we have a government that has for 43 years stifled the involvement and development of its people, and essentially abandoned all the talent, wealth, outside the country as a result of the fact that it's not created a welcoming environment for the diaspora to support its growth. So no, Project C is just beginning.
All right, thank you, Mimi. Before you come in, just a
No, I'm
last
not
question.
coming. I just came to ask a question. So you are still
Okay.
there, Hanson.
All
Yes.
right.
So I'm glad that Project C has actually issued a statement urging the states institutions, because it's not the government of President Paul Biya anymore. It's actually Elections Cameroon to do what it's supposed to do to ensure that the will of the people is respected. And that is what the thousands of people watching us across the border are also expecting to see. But also we have a lot of stakeholders in Cameroon, trade unions in Cameroon, actors of the civil society, the pressure groups are there, different associations are there. How can they actually come together to pressure the elections Cameroon officials so that they can be able to ensure that the exact election results are published without causing any chaos? Because no one, like Eric was saying, we don't want to see chaos.
Yeah, I think the civil society has a tremendous role to play at this moment. If you know, anyone who holds office in any or sits on the board of any civil society organization must be doing what we have done at Project C, is looking at what happened yesterday and emphasizing what the outcome is, and being very, very unequivocal about what should happen in the country. So if you are the Bar Association of Cameroon should be out and in front of this, talking about this, because that is the prevalence, its mission, its purpose is ensuring that there is justice in the country. We should have medical doctors coming out front and talking about this. We should have, yes, trade unions coming out and putting out a statement with reference to the elections. We should have local community organizations, in particular, some of those communities where we're seeing the results being fabricated, you know, in parts of the country where they're saying 5,000 people voted in Massaje. How come? Where did they come from? So everybody has tremendous responsibility at this time. Too often, the story of our country has been one of heartbreak and disappointment. But we are more than that. We can be better than that. It could be that I could give my word and you take my word for it. That's the kind of country that we must build, because economies would only flourish in such circumstances. And so everybody now has that responsibility to be the voice of the people and not allow the will of the people to be derailed by a few people who are putting their interest first before that of the country. I remember it was President Paul Biya who said in one of his speeches, acknowledging, one of his end of year speeches, acknowledging that he had essentially failed in achieving the dreams that he had for the country, not because they couldn't be achieved, but because, in his words, the interest of people was always in conflict with the interest of the government. And I think he himself made a clear diagnosis of what 43 years of governance has been. That the interest of people, and I would say add to that, a few people, is in conflict with the interest of the country. That is essentially what is happening now. And so the majority of us, the many of us, must put the interest of the country ahead of the interest of a few people. And that's the role that the civil society plays in every civilized society around the world. And we're asking for Cameroonians, if you occupy any position, you're sitting on the board of any organization, this is the moment where you must step up and observe that the elections that took place yesterday in Cameroon ushered in a new era, a new republic, and a new president, Issa Chiroma.
Interesting. So before I come to Mr. Nzimancho, Michael, Eric, in a country where the civic space is shrinking, where dissents are, the voices are being shut down, freedom of speech, freedom of expression is stifled by the government. What kind of strategy do you think these organizations that we are talking about should adapt? Because some might be wanting to act, but they are worried of reprisal attacks. They are worried of being targeted, you know. What do you think could be the strategy?
Look, we're going to end up with the country we want. We're going to have to end up with the leaders we want. Otherwise, we will continue to dabble in these, in a constant state of uncertainty and absence of growth and progress. That's a fact. So, the institutions you talk about would have to find the men and the women who can rise to the occasion, to the demands of a new Cameroon. They would have to find I was talking to my young friend, or my Joe Chebonke, who's in charge of the Cameroon Communications Council. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah, the National Communication Council.
That's right. I called him to ask if we could have a debate amongst the candidates. And Joe could not make a decision on that. And what I ultimately heard, he said, because I asked some, the journalists we're going to work with to go find out from him. And he agreed to meet them. But they eventually came and told me, they can't authorize that. How in the world does a country that is supposedly democratic, that has multiple candidates for the top job of the land, reject or refuse to give citizens an opportunity to hear them out? It tells you either the man in charge has no clue what his office is about, or those who defined that office were clueless as to what it should serve. And I don't say this to be a public critic of Joe Chibonke. He's a decent man. I say this in response to your question. If we don't know what we seek in our development, if we cannot fathom, if we cannot understand what the intricacies of economic development constitute, we will not move forward. That is why Cameroon has been so stagnant. why the economy does not create jobs, why investors don't come to Cameroon, why there's no, all the fundamentals. We have everything it takes. We have everything it takes to grow and to be wealthy and to create jobs for our young people and to build our schools used to be the most admirable schools in Africa. I was trained in Cameroon and I went to the United States and I outperformed in my class almost everybody. And the same can be said for everybody you see. We're trained in Cameroon and we outperformed folks in the diaspora. Those schools no longer exist. I see letters that people write to me to say, I would love to work in the World Bank. And I'm looking, oh my God, the language they can't even write in French or English, in decent French or English. Look, we've lost it. And this is what we're searching for. What we're looking for in Cameroon are simple, practical things that are achievable and can be, if we turn the corner this year, within the next 5 years, Cameroon will be on a fast-paced trajectory to growth. That's what we're looking for, Mimi. It's not rocket science. And believe me, if we miss this opportunity, every young man in the streets of Cameroon who's listening to us, if we miss this opportunity for change, that's why they all want change, but they don't quite know what change will look like. I want to tell them how change will look like. Change will look like growth. Better electricity, better water, better opportunities, better possibilities of moving on in life. That's what change looks like. And they're looking for it. So we should help define it for them. And it means people understand what they're doing and they create institutions to serve the public. They create, programs to improve on the quality of life in the country. This is what it means. Simple.
Right. Thank you for those insights. So, Mr. Ndimanjo Michael, Eric is just painting a very bleak picture there of the situation. We may have very competent people in some offices, but it seems they are serving one person instead of the interest of Cameroonians. They are interested in a personality. It's like some sort of a personality call. I've seen that being mentioned several times by some, analysts, that the system of government in Cameroon is centered around one man, and that person is being pleased by everyone appointed by him, including the National Communication Council. Elections Cameroon is almost impossible for the elections governing body to do its job properly because they are serving one man, which is the head of state. We also have the Constitutional Council, who are very skeptical about the Constitutional Council because it's serving the same man, which is the President of the Republic. Are these some of the things that when you look at situations like this in Cameroon, what does it tell you? And are these some of the things that Cameroon really needs to change? Does it tell us that we need to change in this aspect so that we can see some sort of green light, things can get better in different domains. People can do their job based on competence, not based on an individual.
Yes, Mimi. I will not want to quote any minister. Cameroon is one of those countries. I may say even the only country where people think that when you are competent and you are given a job, it is like somebody is slicing a piece of cake and giving you and need to thank him for. This is one of the problems we have in Cameroon, that personality cult, and people do not feel competent. I mean, when something is good, the credit is given to one person, the strong man in Yaoundé. But when it is bad, it is when you, as the worker, take responsibility. This is the problem we have in Cameroon, and whereby you need to always thank somebody. You need by thanking somebody, first of all, for appointing you, and secondly, for doing what you did, and you were appointed to do that particular job. but you need to give that credit to somebody else. It is a problem that we are having here, that everybody feels incompetent in the face of one person. I do not know what is happening, but I think that the new dawn, we are getting to a new dawn, and all of those things will be in the past. I would not like even to quote some of the ministers who have openly said that they were appointed to serve the interests of the President of the Republic, and that it is only that they have to serve. It is a big problem. It is a very, very big problem, whereby nobody takes responsibility. Eric just talked about Cameroonians who are ingenious, who are intelligent, and all of that. And sometimes you ask yourself, I think that when you are appointed in a position, in a post of responsibility, it is because they have seen something in you, because you are competent in that position. And when you make yourself a stooge, to think that you have been appointed because you know somebody, it creates a very, very big problem. And that is how the youth in Cameroon have grown to be. And now that's why you hear about the issue of nepotism, favoritism, and the youth are talking about you have to know somebody first before.
Yes, I think we lost Mr. Ntimancho Michael. I want to go back. Ari, I want to go back to the statement that Issa Shuma Bakari made in Bamenda.
You can get it.
Yes, so I don't think we can get Mr. Ntimancho Michael anymore because of his network. Maybe we can meet him. Yes, Ari, Issa Shuma Bakari said something in Bamenda. He said that when you vote, stay there because I know the rigging machinery of the CPDM party, really echoing the situation of fraud, election rigging in the country, which is something that we discussed quite earlier. Some of us were kind of concerned about what is going to be happening between now and the next 2 weeks. What should Cameroonians really be expecting? Should Cameroonians just sit and fold their arms and wait? What is going to be happening? I know it's a tricky question, you've issued a statement, but people really need practical solutions, how to move from here.
So I think let me start by saying I think the regime underestimated the messaging that went out to the electorate. Vote and defend your vote. Actually, it started with prepare to vote, vote, and then defend your vote. By preparing, people had their voters' cards, they had their ID, they had their polling stations. Even in the Northwest province, where it was made so complicated, where polling stations were put 20 kilometers away from people, it's amazing that in some of those polling stations, 100% of the people voted, right? In the context of what, if you think about that, it's ridiculous that they are even trying to play those games. But people went out to vote. I think they also counted on the fact that because of the calls for boycott in the Northwest and Southwest, maybe people would not show up. But people are desperate for change. They put their lives on the line yesterday for change. So with that, people defended their vote, and people will continue to defend their vote in the next 2 weeks. So practical ways in which you must ensure that your vote is protected. The first one is that I ask people who have authentic results, who were at polling stations and who took images, who took pictures, to ensure that every time somebody posts online information that is contrary to what they saw and what they experienced, they must contradict that person. That is being an activist. We have to be activists ourselves. So, and then two, keep the evidence, because that evidence is very, very necessary for the next few steps or the next few days, as we look at compiling all of this evidence that is going to be used obviously, eventually, if we get to the Constitutional Council. So all of that evidence, and we're going to be sharing ways in which they can share that evidence, and so that we can compile it and make a strong case if and when we have to. That's one practical way. Two is, let's be the public megaphone. Everybody who has a social media, every platform handles your networks and groups, or you must advocate for the truth. And the truth begins with what you saw, what you experienced at your polling station. You live to tell the story of that day that change was brought to Cameroon. And that you can do that every day in the next 14 days. We will flood the zone of evil with good, with so much good that it would drive away evil, right? And then three, be on standby, right? You are a citizen of this country. Be on standby to ensure that you do what you have to do if the opportunity comes for you to advocate for justice, to advocate for the outcome. That is your responsibility. Let nobody be scared or frightened that 8 million Cameroonians who voted stepping out to advocate for their right, for what is rightfully theirs, is not wrong. We shouldn't get to that point, but the people must be able to express themselves. There is a law in Cameroon that allows for that freedom of expression. It's like 1990 laws on freedom of association, that people have the responsibility to do that if and when they see that the outcome of their elections is being subverted. Just as they showed up at every polling station without fear, so too they must show up again when there is need.
Interesting. So, Eric, many are saying democratic transfer of power in Cameroon. That's why so many people are excited. So, if a winner is announced and that winner is not President Paul Biya, hopefully, is our prayer. What stages are we expecting to see before the new president eventually comes in? As senior journalist, you've covered, done a lot of reporting on these issues. You're muted, Eric.
Sorry, I keep one of the top lawyers I know is one of head of Project C, and has gone into the Constitution to identify and lay out the process. C has put out a statement to that effect. What are the various steps with regard to this transition? So it's out there, and I'd really encourage everybody to go out and take a look, and we will again, publish it maybe in the coming days. The first and the most honorable thing that should have been done, that I still expect should be done, is for the outgoing president to call, congratulate, and recognize the incoming president. That would be a great moment. We still hope that it'll come about. Nothing stops Mr. Biya from doing it. Think about how much it will appease the nation. A lot of what is happening now is being driven by people who do not have the interests of the nation at heart. As Ari said, quoting the president, it's the interest of some and not the interest of the majority. The interest of some that's in conflict with the interest of the majority. Mr. Biya would squash that, resolve that, and make this process about the country, not about the interest of a handful of people. So that, for me, would be the perfect point of departure in this post-electoral process. Maybe the president is waiting until the Constitutional Council announces the victory. that would still be good. It's not too late, but we hope he does it. And then, of course, beyond that, I believe I've heard rumors to the effect that Mr. Chiroma is in the process of constituting his government. The next thing would be a transition that has the new members of government. You know, I mean, Mr. Chiroma is going to come in with a handful of people too. But most of the civil service of Cameroon will be in place. Most of the issues will be there to be addressed. So I think, you know, the next logical step would be for Mr. Chiroma's government members to meet with the government, the current government ministers and senior officials, because not all the senior officials will remain in place. Clearly, we've got about, I'm told, 65 members of government. So there are about 65 ministries. I'm sure there'll be a lot of changes at that level, even if some of them made their way back into government, but they might not make their way back into the same positions. So they'll need recycling. They'll need to be brought up to speed on what the issues are in those ministries. So that would be the logical next step. Getting, you know, the process of government, the machinery of government, work, you know, turning again. And then I would expect the broad outlines of Mr. Chiroma's policies to be outlined, not only to his government, but to the nation. I've heard about his intention of addressing head-on the Anglophone crisis in the country. He wants to do it from day one. So clearly, he would have to, you know, get that process going from day one. He wants to, within a reasonable amount of time, organize a national conference to discuss a fundamental issue of governance. How is the country governed? It's a constitutional, there'll be a review of the Constitution. That's critical. So, you know, besides being congratulated by Mr. Biya, being received into the palace, announcing his government, going into a transition with the current government members, and then announcing to the nation what his policies are. That's the process I see. And then, of course, getting to work. And it's not going to be easy work, because the state of the nation now, the nation is in such a catastrophic state that it's not going to be simple. It's not going to be simple. That's why, you know, that's why I thought Mr. Biya should not run again, you know, because he's tired.
Yeah.
He cannot
So I just
deal with
wanted,
Cameroon as it is today. So sorry, I know you get me talking, Mimi, and you just keep
yes,
talking.
I just wanted Bernard to now take over from me. But before, I had a question for Ari. I can't remember. I lost my train of thoughts. But Bernard, maybe you can carry on from there.
So we hope you'll come back, Mimi, when you.
No, I'm not leaving. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Whilst Bernard is coming in, let me just follow up on what Eric said here. Just to, you know, we have been talking. The Cameroonian people have been talking, and everybody's been talking. I guess in the last 15 days, as the elections unfold, the Cameroonians got the opportunity to see President Paul Biya 4 times. In an electoral process. I mean, and we have a part of the country that still thinks that 30 million, this is deserving of 30 million people. Like, people are surprised, we are all surprised, which we shouldn't, that the election was won so easily by Issa Chiroma. There is a reason why there are campaigns for people to see and judge who is capable of them being hired to serve them, because the president is the CEO, is the chief executive officer of the country. And if you are going to hire somebody as the chief executive officer of a business, not to talk more of a country, wouldn't you expect that person to manifest their talents, their capabilities, their experience? And a 15-day period was created. And we saw the president appear 4 times. Twice of those 4 times was leaving the country during an electoral process. Twice. The other 2 times was an appearance in Marwa for a manufactured campaign event, and the other time was when he voted yesterday. Ask the Cameroonian people who voted, if you were going to choose the CEO of Enterprise Cameroon, will that be somebody that you have not had the opportunity to see, to engage with, as the other candidate that traveled the length of the country, went to challenging Bamenda and spoke to the people, to parts of the country, remote parts of the country. We saw people rising up in places where he couldn't set foot, he didn't set foot, manifesting for him. Obviously, we shouldn't be surprised at the results that came out yesterday if we only looked at the last 15 days.
Bernard.
Yes, thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Are. I want us to switch gears a little bit and talk about the opposition.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Is it me? Or I can't
Can you hear me?
you though.
Yeah, I can.
Can you hear me now, Are?
Okay. So I'm going to jump out and come back in.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted us to look at the opposition parties and all the opposition candidates. We know that we know that Cameroon has issued a statement in support of, in recognition of Chiruma's victory. Caxton has done the same. What are you hearing from the opposition leaders? Are they all going to come out at some point and officially recognize Chiruma's victory, or are they going to sit back and see what happens?
You know, Bernard, I really hope that, they all will do the decent thing. We're learning the ropes of democracy in Cameroon. We're not a democratic nation by any stretch of the imagination, but we are at the start of that journey of becoming democratic. And I am sure when we say that Mr. Biya should call the president-elect and congratulate him, we mean that he would play into that culture. Cameroonians will start understanding what democracy actually entails. It's not, your competitor is not your enemy, it's your brother. Recognize him at that level, and when you compete as gentlemen or as ladies and gentlemen, and then we come back into the family and we move on with a winner. That culture has to be developed. And this president, Mr. Paul Biya, who prides himself in being the man who brought democracy to Cameroon, he will be helping that endeavor by simply picking up the phone and calling Mr. Chiroma. He'll be helping it in great ways. So, that's part of the process. And it would help also if all the other candidates were to do the same. Can you imagine a Cameroon in which the losing candidates in any election pick up the phone and call the winning candidates? It's healthy, it's statesmanlike, and it helps the country come together again after every election. So maybe the candidates don't know that, because, as I say, we are in the early stages of our democratic journey. So maybe they don't know that. So let's tell them now, please call Mr. Chiroma, who is the first out of the barn. It'll be your turn next time, and you'll expect the others to call you. So please, I congratulate young Ateki for doing the right thing. He is the future. But I also congratulate our brother and friend Keremona, and I hope that the others will do the same. Mrs. Ndamjoya, Cabral Libi, our brother Joshua Osi, and so on. So yes, I hope they do so.
Do you have any idea if Issa Chiroma Bakari himself is planning to talk with the other opposition candidates, just calling them to get a feel or confirm that they agree that he won?
That's a very good question. I believe that Mr. Chiroma is eager to reach out, from what I know, eager to reach out to the others. But I don't think he wants to be premature about it. He's supposed to make a speech tonight. I don't know if he has or not. But I know he planned to make a speech tonight. He might have made that speech, in which I think he'll reach out graciously to those who fought this battle with him. He's going to be looking at some of them to bring them into his government. There's no question about that. There's some amazing guys who run for president. We mentioned Ateki. I'd mention Iyodi. I'd mention Jacques Bougard. There's Mrs. Ndamjoya. There's some really amazing folks who would serve the country well if they join forces with Mr. Chiroma. And I think he'll reach out to them, not only to tap their brains, but also to engage with them in the journey forward.
One other question we had was, before the elections, Atanganji actually threatened Issa Chiroma about his security, saying he's going to get him up there. And on elections day, there were stories about the police posing some threats on Chiroma's life, but the population came in and saved him. I haven't verified the stories though. So what do you think about Chiroma's security at the moment?
Mr. Chiroma is in a good place, in a safe place. I know that for sure. It is outrageous for a member of government to act the way Mr. Atanganji seems to carry himself. Outrageous. He has no right. As minister, he's a servant of the people. Somebody ought to remind the young man about this. He's a servant of the people. He has zero right to have been recruited, paid by taxpayers to threaten them. Even worse, to threaten potential leaders of the nation. I think it's outrageous. And somebody really, I hope Mr. Bia or whoever can, the Prime Minister, Mr. Jangute, somebody should pull him, back to order. Because that's not to be tolerated. But it gives me the chance to say that I do know that Mr. Chiroma is in a safe place. And as I said, had to make a speech tonight or tomorrow at the latest. And we'll be fine when it comes to move to that.
Thank you. Let me turn to you, Ariel Benson. So at this point, what is Project C thinking about the next steps? Because the elections, the official results are going to be tallied at some point and then transferred over to the Divisional Counting Commission and then to the National Counting Commission. At that point, citizens would have no access to the results, and whatever is being discussed at that level would be entirely between the administration, ELECAM, and party and candidate representatives. And with the language that we hear from Atanganji Paul and some members of government, it's not strange to imagine that there are opposition party candidate representatives would be under threat or would feel insecure within the circles where they're reviewing these results. Do you think the results may not reflect the results we are seeing, the raw data we're seeing from the polling stations? I prefer calling it raw data because that is, when you say it's raw, it's what has not been adulterated yet.
Yeah. I certainly hope. I can bet on it. I certainly hope that the results will be the true reflection of the will of the people. It is the responsibility that our mission at Project C is initially to make this a moment of truth for Cameroon, to empower people with the truth, with the facts, and with the tools that will enable them to participate in the electoral process, which did not apparently end yesterday, which must continue until the will of the people is manifested or respected. Obviously, ending up with the swearing in of the president-elect, which should take place within 15 days of the proclamation of the official results. Just with that in mind, here's what we will do, is continue to remind people of their power as citizens, right? That it is we, the people of Cameroon, you, the people of Cameroon, that have the power. You are the supreme authority of the country, and must hold people accountable locally, regionally, and nationally to respect the will of the people. That is what we will do in the next 2 weeks, and then build a massive coalition of the willing, a coalition of people at all levels that are willing to ensure that this time around, the will of the people is not subverted. That's what we're going to do. Just basically inspiring people, sharing people what the Constitution provides, what the law provides, what are their rights and responsibilities too, and how they must, in a manner that is obviously civil and peaceful, manifest their rights and lead to this country to the destination that it should be. For too long, it has been seen as those rights or those rights belong to a few. And you mentioned just the manner in which an appointed official of the government will be was addressing a presidential candidate during a campaign period, which is actually free season, where you have the right and responsibility to say what you want to say, speaking to the Cameroonian people. But those are things that we shouldn't be having this conversation about. But that's going to be our responsibility, and we'll continue to educate the people, and also even educate people in government what their responsibilities are. We spoke about the transition period. It's that transition period. It's very, very clear what every civil servant should be doing, what the outgoing president should be doing, what the police, the military, the legislature, they all have responsibilities that, if they abdicate, is actually punishable by law.
Yeah, I want to follow up on the presence of the candidates' representatives in the divisional and national counting commissions. Is Project C envisioning any strategy of working with these people who would be representing Issa Chiroma at the various counting commissions to ensure that they are protected, they feel confident, and they withstand any forms of intimidation or corruption while the tally of the votes are ongoing?
So we actually, I'll tell you, this afternoon I got a message from somebody who is in Munya, who is in one of the polling stations. The election officials refused to count the ballots at the polling station, right? And he was one of the people that manifested strongly that by law it had to be counted there and posted there. And he said this morning that because he did that, there was some information put out that this group of people were protesting, right? And now he's facing he's fearful for his life because he did not want the ballot boxes to leave the polling station because the law provided that it should be counted there. And so I said to him to provide me as much information, and we'll do the best to ensure that he is safe and protected and sound. The most important thing for people to know at this point, and that's what we're going to be doing, if it is one person, it is easier for them to be victimized. If it is everybody, it is more difficult. And that's what happened when people stayed at the polls for their votes to be counted. So we will not allow anyone go on this journey alone or be exposed to threats alone. Like the lady who was in the Tico polling station as well, who was threatened by the son of the famous writer Belasone Dipoko, who wanted her to give the CPDM 90% of the votes. The video is out; it was captured.
Yeah,
so we have to be calling those people out and
this
ensuring
brings me
that
back
they
to
don't intimidate people across the country.
Yeah, this brings me back to my question about the opposition. This brings me back to my question about opposition.
I'm sorry, I have lost sound for you. I think it may be my system, so I'm going to change it.
Can Eric and Hansen hear me?
No.
Yes, I can get you.
They can all hear you, but for me, so.
All right. I was just asking about the opposition collaboration within the counting commissions, because raising the opposition outside of the counting commissions makes sense because other people are there and they could film it. But when you're already within that constraint and restraint environment where you have only law enforcement officers, the SDO, the GOs, and then ELECAM officials, you are in an absolute minority. The law has intentionally put you in an absolute minority, and you wouldn't even feel confident using your phone. So how could, if Issa Chiruma's representative is in there and the other political parties are not collaborating with them, how the power dynamics already moves, and it's difficult to resist. Even if they're not corrupting you, the intimidation is going to be tough. How can they play this out if they don't collaborate?
Sorry. Again, we're still in the childhood phase of our development. We're children of the democratic growth process, and we will. It's not gonna be easy for us to play mature roles in strengthening the governance processes that are born of our democracy. It's a problem. So I guess we just have to come together as a people and try to figure out how exactly, these little, it's not, again, as we said earlier tonight, it's not rocket science. It can be done. All we need to do is open our minds to play by the rules, which are easy to learn, and have the interest of the nation at heart. I think that's the most obvious and yet not so simple approach to government. I'm not sure that I got the thrust of your question, but Bernard, I come back to you.
Yeah, let me try with Michael, my big brother from ever. You have spoken to these opposition candidates and before the elections, and you know where they stand. You still meet with them physically almost every time. Do you foresee a possibility where they could collaborate, at least even within the vote counting commissions at a divisional level, to ensure that they are not overpowered numerically?
Well, Bernard, I think that time too has passed and a lot has changed, because if I remain at the period, at the time where I met them before the elections, there were many who were really very, very reticent about collaborating. And I wrote a lot of letters about that. I published a lot about that. And I remember there are even some who said, yes, coalition, good, but not with that particular one. There were a lot of finger pointing, you know. I do not know where the bone of contention actually was from, but I understand that there were many who didn't want to see eyeball to eyeball. But I think the time has passed, and sometimes some circumstances can push people, even who are at cross purposes, to come together in a concerted action in order to achieve a goal. We have reached a level whereby mistakes of the past would not be used now at this point in time. We'll say the stakes are very high, Bernard. I have met a few of them, right? And I think that some of them are changing their positions. But then, as I said earlier, sorry, my connection was not good. Many are watching to see if others will first of all take the first move. And the question is, who will take the first move to be able to call for this concerted action? You know, people are playing their politics and they're playing their games. And the government in place too, under Mr. Biya, is also playing its own game. You know that there are a lot of night activities where they are contacting a lot of these opposition parties in order to align with the ruling party. And they also want them to make pronouncement to say that the incumbent won. So the stakes are very, very high. And you find that some of them are in the middle of the sea, and then some of them are being pushed to the wall, and they are confused between actually declaring for a candidate like Issa Chiroma and for the incumbent. And you know what happens in Cameroon, because people are looking to see who will actually be at the end of it all. So it is, as I said, many of them are playing that kind of belly politics at this point in time. I think that Francois Baya actually makes it very clear, la politique de vente, l'État en Afrique. So I think a lot is happening now, and it takes very, very committed people and opposition leaders to be able to come together. Remember that it is not going to be on a platter of gold that they are going to give this. And many of them know, and I've met a lot of them who actually understand that to take this, it is not going to be so an easy thing. In as much as we think that, and we re-emphasize that, no drop of blood is worth any political ambition of any politician. But we still also have to understand that the stakes are very high. You know that this is a government, somebody who has been in power for 43 years, who has almost transformed the presidential palace to his own home. You know, it is not easy to live. And who believes now that there's no life after the presidency? So we need to actually take all of these things and put together. And that is why we keep on constantly talking with the opposition leader, because now the stakes are with them. And we are now looking, we are looking at endorsement now, because the endorsements are going to play a very, very preponderant role in what is happening now. Issa Chiroma made it very clearly. It is not him who is actually going to fight Yaoundé. He has the people who voted for him. So if we are waiting for Issa Chiroma to go to Yaoundé and take power, then we are lying. We have seen this happen in other places. It is the population, it is us, it is the opposition leaders. But what is important here that I'm happy about is that we have somebody who actually tentatively has won, and who is very courageous, who is bold, who is daring, and who knows what awaits him. If he doesn't actually encourage or galvanize people to go up with him to Yaoundé. You remember many of the ministers in Yaoundé, their campaign speeches were derogatory words against Mr. Issa Chirima, especially in his outings in Bamenda. So they even use that his outing to make for their campaign speeches. So you see that it is a government that is unified against someone that I've seen who has come almost from nowhere, and they were not expecting. So it has taken them unaware. So it is time at this point in time for those who after and genuinely wanted to take power in Cameroon to join hands with the civil society, who we are, of course, and we have been playing our part. So it is very, very important at this point in time. And if we go by the pre-electoral comportment or behaviors of the opposition leaders, then we will not have much to say about them joining forces with Issa Chirima. But we think that time has passed, and now people, and now we also believe that they have changed their positions, and that position that we really hope and wish that they change is going to be very, very important at this point in time, because the more and more people endorse the opposition leader like Issa Chirima, the more and more this will send a message to the government in Yaoundé, because at this point in time it is not really easy, and within the ranks of in Yaoundé, there are accusation and counter accusation. As I said, a lot of money was spent too for the campaigns, and the accusation now is that most of them didn't spend the money for the campaigns, and that is why they lost in most of the places. So the stakes are high, and every person is afraid not to be the scapegoat. In that. So it is very, very important that we get unified with, and the journalists do, the whistleblowers, and everybody, like we see the Project C. It is very important that everybody actually raises his or her voice in this issue. We need to engage the social media, because it is not now an issue. Issa Chirima has done his own part. It is now left for the opposition to come together. It's left for the civil society. It's left for religious leaders. And of course, I'm very, very happy to know that most of the religious leaders, of course, that I've met with recently, from yesterday to today, most of them are for the fact that they actually want a change. And another important point too is that the popular view is that Cameroonians, they actually for once in a while at least see another face in the presidency. And so these are already some of those centripetal forces that we have, that we don't have to joke with. They are very, very important for us to handle with care at this point in time. And that if we sleep with our two eyes closed, before we get up the next morning, we'll only be having the Bible, and the whites are having the land, as they have. That is right.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. Mike has raised the real issue, and that issue is lack of communication and collaboration between the opposition leaders. Can Project C engage discussions or negotiations to ensure that these opposition political leaders agree to at least collaborate at this level to ensure that they are not in the minority once they get into the counting commissions? You're muted.
Let me say this to you, Bernard, and I guess we're all on a journey of discovery. 12 weeks ago, when we started out, we looked carefully. We spent a lot of time and resources trying to bring together the opposition candidates into a coalition. A lot of time and resources. And if hindsight, if I look in hindsight, if hindsight is 2020, what we learned was that exercise was an exercise in futility. And that what actually happened and manifested itself was that we ended up with a coalition of the people. And I can remember clearly when we made that pivot was when we put out the headlines, said, let's make this a referendum on 43 years of bad governance. And that in itself, that message seemed to have caught fire. Going forward with what we have learned is we need the people to stay in solidarity. They formed a coalition. It was not, there were many people that voted for Issa Chirima without knowing what party he belonged. They didn't know what FSNC is. What they were voting for was not even Issa Chirima, right? do it. Essentially, it was a referendum on President Paul Biya, right? That's exactly what happened. The people themselves came together and said, this is the moment. And that is the only thing that has changed any country, and that is the only thing that will change this country. Look at the results of the presidential election. There were 2 candidates that stood for the elections, not 12. And so overemphasizing on the 10 other candidates may just be putting the resources where it shouldn't. Anybody who is politically savvy must be able to read the tea leaves and say, my people, or the people that I represent in my political party, choose a different path. And that path is for us to walk in solidarity towards change in our country. So we instead have to create this movement, this wave of people working together for a common purpose, and that will drive the decisions that the political leaders can make. That's what I see instead.
Yeah. Thank you. The importance of the people driving and determining where the political leaders go to should be the driving force here. I see Eric wanted to add something to that.
Thanks, Bernard. I wanted to, I was going along the same lines as with Array on this, to say that a coalition really, and we made that mistake all along. We're putting a lot of emphasis on trying to bring people together when we should, and maybe this is another lesson we must learn in our democratic process. We should have been working to align programs. We should have been working on the proposals, the programs that people were offering, and looking to align them. And based on that alignment, find who was best placed to carry the program forward. That's the way it should be. When we try to, how do you bring 2 heads together everyone wants to be the head? It was an exercise in futility, as I already said. We tried with every one of the candidates. It just couldn't work. The 2 people who ultimately aligned with someone else, the 2 was Ateki and Akeremuna. And the 2 of them came from civil society. They're not your traditional politicians. So yes, the next time around, let us leave the politicians do what they're doing, and let's ask people about what are you offering. And based on your offerings, you want national conference on governance? He too wants a national conference on governance, but he's explaining it better to us, so we'll go with him. This is all part of the learning process for us.
Thank you so much. I think we should round up. It's past midnight in Europe and in Africa, and people need to go sleep. So could you just give me your last words each, advising or encouraging the people to maintain their coalition, the coalition that would lead Cameroon to the installation of the 3rd president in the days ahead? Let me start with Aria Benson.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity, and we hope that we're going to continue doing this so that we stay in communion with the people of Cameroon as we go on this new journey that actually leads us to that 3rd republic and the swearing in of the 3rd president of Cameroon. My last message is to everybody is that, the only thing stronger than fear is hope. And hope for that we will achieve, hope that tomorrow will be better. It is that hope that took people to vote, irrespective of the cynicism that had existed, that we cannot do this, we cannot win. It is that hope that will continue to take us to the point where we actually see a transition in Cameroon. So tonight, hang on to hope, and tomorrow we'll get back at it.
Thank you so much. Michael, your last word.
Yes, last word is that the social media should actually get on and let us keep pressing the buttons. And for the electorate, they should keep asserting the fact that they voted and that their votes were honest and they stand with the votes, with the choices that they made, and that no one should actually distract them with their opinions, what they express during the votes, because a lot of distraction of opinions is going on now, especially in Cameroon, whereby a lot of rhetorics about what happened and how the opposition didn't get what they are claiming they got. But I think that it is very important that, especially with the online polling that Mimimefo did, a lot of people are really informed. And I really wish, my last word would be that let they remain firm. They remain firm because when if they wary or if they lay low, a lot is going to happen. We have to be awake for the next 2 weeks. And today I was on a media program and I said there is no law in Cameroon that prohibits the proclamation of election from the polling center. Of course, that is there's no law that forbids, but the law gives prerogative for the proclamation of a general election to this constitutional council. That is, when they are giving the final result. So I think that what Cameroonians have, let them hang on to, because we had true figures that are circulating, and let nobody circulate, because we have gotten other figures that are coming out now, and prefabricated results are actually now distorting the political opinion about what we had yesterday. And let Cameroonians remain firm and know that this is all distraction. Let them remain firm, and that the wish they expressed yesterday, it should be the wish that they hold today and they will hold tomorrow, and then for the next 2 weeks, let them remain refreshed in what they expressed yesterday. That is my wish, and that is my hope, and that is my last words to Cameroonians.
Thank you so much, Eric Chinje.
Thanks, Bernard, and thanks everybody. I want to say that Ari and I and the rest of the Project C team will continue to beat this drum about the elections until it's all rounded up and a new president is installed and the country can pick up again. I want to, we have a new president. In days, it is Mr. Issa Chiroma. Let's wrap our minds around that. Let's recognize the fact it's good for Cameroon, it's good for democracy, it's good for Africa. And let's do the right thing and go with truth. We need to build a country on the pillars of truth. That's what the first thing I want to say. Secondly, I want to say, let's celebrate it. Let's celebrate the fact it's a good thing for Cameroon. It's a good thing for the continent. So let's wallow in our democracy. Let's strengthen it. Let our democracy prosper. Let's do it in peace. That's the most important thing. Peace is, you can't develop a country that's not in peace. Cameroon isn't right now. It's not been in peace for a while. So let this allow us to introduce peace and build a nation and make this the beginning of that new Cameroon that we all so desire. And army, the police, the forces of law and order, please, we're putting out a special appeal to them. I know that we're not the only ones doing this Project C. We're doing it in Project C, but there are other groups within society that are appealing to the military, to the police, to the gendarmerie. You are there to serve the nation, to protect the nation, and we hope you will do it. And at the end of the day, God will bless Cameroon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our various media platforms, Mimimefo Info, CNN News Agency, and the Beyond Africa podcast are the drums available for Project C to use in beating the information until it sinks right deep into the minds and the hearts of Cameroonians that we have a new president, and we are available 24/7. I just want to tell Didier Mingley, who says, I know the sleeper beg say we need to sleep. We could go sleep too because we'll be for here tomorrow. Then there's another panelist who says greetings panelists. Another viewer says greetings panelists. While not advocating for violence, do you guys really see a scenario where the current regime will give up the power peacefully? I think that is, we need to organize a conversation around that. That is what Eric was just talking about in a message to the military and the police. We started thinking about that. So we are definitely going to have a conversation around that, because our military and the police need to be conscious that in as much as they are in their uniform and their boots, they are citizens like the rest of us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the Mimi Info platform, CNN News Agency, and the Beyond Africa podcast for this 2-hour, 30-minute conversation on critical issues. The anxiety is there, the joy is there, but keep guard, stay awake until the Lord comes, and the Lord comes on the day of the installation. So see you next time when we are back. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice.